Hello everyone, welcome to the math channel Mathematics with Shahab Yaqub. So now in today's class or lecture, what will you see? You will see the solved paper related to P1, Pure Maths 1 that is, and it's of the session May-June 2024. This is variant 1.3. So let's get started with this. So now the first question that is about binomial expansion. Now, why do I write this thing over here? What is the topic all about? The reason being, a tab should be opened up in your mind and everything and anything significant or insignificant related to this chapter should be fresh and ready in your mind so that it can be used quickly. Now, what is the question all about? It says find the coefficient of x square in the expansion of these two brackets. This bracket has a power of 1. It remains as it is. This bracket has a power of 10. So what we do is that we find the first three terms. Now the question is why only the first three terms? The reason is I technically need the x term from here so that it multiplies with the x over here and it gives me x square. And I need the x square term over here which multiplies with the constant and I'll still get an x square. So that's the whole logic behind it. That is the formula. That is NC0 b raised to power of 0, NC1 b raised to power of 1, NC2 b raised to power of 2, and these are the three terms that you get. Now look at the highlighting that I've done. The red multiplies with the red, the green multiplies with the green. Take care of the plus minus sign. We add up the coefficients. This answer comes out to be 660. So that was a pretty basic question. Now the second question over here, and it looks like it's a trigonometry question and it involves a trigonometric sketch with a touch of transformation. Now transformation is something that people fear the most. Yes, I know it's a bit tricky, but let me make it simpler for you. So now what is the question all about? All the working is done over there. I'll pinpoint exactly what needs to be done in which order. The diagram shows the curve y is equals to k cosine x minus pi by 6. Now just stop over here and let's think. So thinking is very important if you want to get the right grade. This k over here, that is the amplitude. This is the graph of cosine. The maximum value will be plus k. The minimum value will be negative k. So that's max, that's min. That's the first. K is a positive constant. That means the graph is drawn just like this, just like a normal cosine graph. It's not upside down. X is measured in radians. The curve crosses the x-axis at point A and B is a minimum point. Find the coordinates of A and B. Now my strategy is I have drawn a simple cosine graph between 0 till 2 pi. That's the maximum one, that's the minimum negative one, and then there are two zeros over here. So now when it is x minus pi by 6, what happens is that the transformation is it is shifted pi by 6 units to the right. So basically this y-axis I have drawn over here so that this graph looks exactly like this. That is one cycle over here. So now this point A over here, that corresponds to this point, but it has been shifted pi by 6 to the right. So what have I done? I have taken the x coordinate from the original one. I added pi by 6 and this comes out to be 5 pi by 3. It's on the x-axis, so therefore the y coordinate is 0. What about B? So this is like one cycle. This is like half a cycle more. So basically 360 degrees plus 180 degrees, which is 540 degrees. This is in degrees. But what about the radians? In radians, this is 2 pi, that's one cycle, plus pi, that's half a cycle, plus pi by 6 for the shift. This comes out to be 19 over 6 pi. Now all this working that you see on the sidelines, what is it about? It's about adding the fractions. So I'm not using the calculator. Yes, you can go ahead and use it, but don't involve pi as it is. Just take pi on the outside, ignore pi, just add the fractions. That's entirely up to you. And this negative k is over here. Why? Because it's not shifting up and down. So the maximum value is still k, the minimum value is negative k, and that's the answer. So for 3 marks, basically 1 mark for this, 1 mark for this, 1 mark for this, there are no half marks. So keep that in mind. And that's a simple question that is done, but simple but elegant. A lot of concept is over there. Now part B is totally different. It's about the concept of inverse and everything. Find the exact value of t. That means it could be in the third form, it could be in fractions, it could be in terms of pi. Over here, it will be in the third form. Find the exact value of t that satisfies this equation: 3 sine inverse 3t plus 2 cos inverse half root 2. Root 2 over 2, that is the cosine of pi by 4. Keep that in mind. That's also sine of pi by 4. It's in the rationalized form. This comes out to be pi. Now, what is the first thing? The first step, let me highlight it over here. That is simplifying this. 2 into cos inverse of root 2 over 2. That's 2 into pi by 4. And what do you get? You get pi by 2 from here. And when it's taken to the other side, so this is basically, I have skipped a step. That is pi minus pi by 2, which is pi by 2 right over here. So let me just highlight this as half blue, half green, because this is the result that is obtained after the subtraction. Now let's proceed. Now let's start on the left hand side. Now on the left hand side, what is happening? This is 3 and then it's sine inverse 3t. So now I take this 3, I divide, this becomes pi by 6. Sine inverse of 3t is pi by 6. Therefore, 3t is sine of pi by 6. Sine of pi by 6 is half. Make t the subject. T comes out to be 1 over 6. So that's such a simple question. And what you have observed so far, that I think only over here, 10C1, if you remember, NC1, that is 10. That's you can use the calculator or not. 10C2, that's 10 into 9 over 2 into 1. So I think this is the point at which you have to use the calculator. So that's just a bit, and this is totally without the calculator. So 2 questions are done. Let's move to the third one. And what is the third question? The third question, as you can see from the diagram, and you will be able to recognize it without fail, that is circular measure. Now this question says the diagram shows a sector of a circle with center C. So that's the center. That's a sector. Well, this is the major sector that they are talking about. They have not drawn the minor sector. The radii CA, CB each have a length R. So this is R, this is R. It's written over here. And the size of the reflex angle. This is the reflex angle, which lies between 180 and 360. This is theta radians, and make sure your calculator is in the radian mode and your angle should be in radians also. So the sector shaded has a perimeter of 65 and an area of 225. Find the values of r and theta. Now you have realized it's a simultaneous equation question. Perimeter is basically r plus the arc length. Arc length is r theta plus 2r is equals to 65. Leave it as it is for right now. Area is half r squared theta, 225 is half r squared theta. Now there were 2 options. I could have made r the subject and then substituted it, or I simply made r theta the subject. Now when I made r theta the subject, what do I get? This is 65 minus 2r. Over here, this r theta is replaced over here. So r theta is replaced. We get a quadratic equation. Looks a bit scary. You can either use quadratic formula or I use middle term factorization. 2 into 45 is 900. So 45 into 20 is 900. The middle term factorization, I get 2 answers. Both answers are positive. Now what I do is that I calculate the corresponding value of theta. I made theta the subject. That is 65 minus 2r over r. This comes out to be 4.5. This comes out to be 8 over 9. Now we know that pi is 3.142 and 2 pi is 6.284. That means if it's a reflex angle, it should lie between these 2 values. This does not lie, reject. This lies, accept. So now we are working with this value. Theta is 4.5 and the corresponding value of r is 10. So that is the value that we are working with. So r is 10 and theta is 4.5. So now then it says find the area of the triangle ACB. Now for area of triangle ACB, I have the value of r. I have this angle theta. I need this angle on the inside. So this angle will be 2 pi minus theta. So therefore this angle is 2 pi minus theta, that is 1.784. The rest is basic O-level math, IGCSE math. Half into half AB sine C. Make sure calculator is in the radian mode. This is the answer given correct to 4SF. And then this is the final answer that is given to 3SF. So that's how this question is done. Question number 4. What is this about? Question number 4 is about trigonometry. And I think it is identity and equation. Yes, it's a combination of both. This is ID and this is equation. So we solved the question of circular measure that involves trigonometry. We solved this trigonometric question. We solved this trigonometric sketch. So basically the whole of trigonometry is right over here. Now this question says that show that the equation cosine theta 7 tangent theta minus 5 cos theta is equals to 1 can be written as this thing. What is this thing? This is basically a quadratic in terms of sine theta. In terms of sine theta. So that is exactly what this is. So now also one other thing I want to pinpoint, that is when you are using the symbol, so you can write let S be the symbol for sine theta and let C be the symbol for cosine theta, so that it makes life simpler. You can even work in the original thing. I just prefer it this way. That's a personal preference. So now cosine theta is written as cosine theta, C, and tangent is broken down into two things, that is sine over cos. Minus 5 cos is equals to this. First multiply, cos cancel, this cos with this cos, that is cos square. Cos square is replaced with what? 1 minus sine square, expand, simplify, you get this thing. That's pretty basic for 3 marks. Theta, now this is for the second part. So now hence solve this equation. Cosine 2x is equals to 7 tangent 2x minus 5 cos 2x is equals to 1. Look at this. This theta, theta, theta. Over here 2x, 2x, 2x. Everything else is the same. So what have I written? Which I read it out earlier. Theta is replaced with 2x. Now make a habit of writing this thing where it belongs. Like this. So now theta is replaced with 2x. So let me just highlight this thing. That is this 2x, that is this 2x, that's right over here. And so basically what happens is that this equation completely is changed. This equation is changed to what we have just found over here. And then what do? We do middle term factorization. So let me write over here, this is middle term factorization, that's done. And we get sine 2x plus 2, 5 sine 2x minus 3. We get sine 2x is negative 2. No solution. Why? Because the maximum value of any angle, sine of any angle is 1. So let me write it this. Maximum is 1. Minimum is negative 1. That is true for sine. That is true for cosine. So now sine 2x is 3/5. Then the 4-step method. What is the 4-step method? That is stating the quadrants. Sine is positive, so therefore first and second. Modification of the range. X lies between 0 and 180. 2x lies between 0 and 360. Calculation of the basic angle. Alpha is the symbol used to calculate basic angle. What is the basic angle? Acute angle with the x-axis. It's always calculated with a positive ratio. It was already positive. So this comes out to be 36.87. We are working in 2 dp. And then its basic thing, 2x is equals to angle in the first quadrant. As it is, theta is equals to alpha and theta is 180 minus alpha. And then you round it off correct to 1 dp. So that was a pretty basic question of trigonometry. Now this is about stationary points, nature, increasing, decreasing. So basically this is about differentiation. So this is about differentiation. This is about stationary points. This is about increasing, decreasing. Now the question says the equation of a curve is this. Y is equals to this thing. The very first thing is 1/2 remains as it is. X goes up. Now some people, they just take 2 also go up. I mean, what's the use of that? Half is a constant. Leave it as it is. This is x minus 1. Why is this necessary? This is very, very necessary because unless and until you do this, how will you carry out the differentiation? So now you carry out the differentiation. You write dy by dx. You differentiate each thing. You simplify. So differentiate and simplify. So write it as it should be written. Then it's the concept of stationary point. So when it's the concept of stationary point, dy by dx equals to 0. And then you would simplify and you find the value of x, that is negative half. Then you plug in original equation. What's the original equation? That is the equation of curve. That is how I term it, original equation. And then you find the corresponding value of y, and then the final answer, that is the coordinate, that's written like this. So find the coordinates. When it says coordinates, it means the x coordinate, it means the y coordinate. Then it's asking for the nature of the stationary point. So when we talk about nature of stationary point, we are talking about the second derivative. That means derivative of the derivative, which is denoted by the symbol. That is like this. So now when we, let me get the highlighter ready. Okay, so we calculate d square y over dx square. That comes out to be this. And then we plug in this value. X is equals to negative half. We just plug in this value, and then what happens? It comes out to be positive. Positive means it's a minimum. So the nature is either a max or a min. Now let me just remind you, let me draw a small box somewhere over here. I think this thing is good. So now over here in this thin box, if the second derivative d square y over dx square, if it's positive, that means it's a min. If it's negative, it means a max. That is the second derivative test. And then it says for positive values of x, determine whether your curve shows a function that is increasing, decreasing, or neither. Give a reason for your answer for 2 marks. So this is dy by dx. If x is positive, this x is positive, square of positive is positive. That means this dy by dx, so let me write dy by dx equals to, dy by dx will always be positive. If the gradient is always positive, that means the function is always increasing. Now I have drawn in a hurry arrow pointing up. You shouldn't do that. You should write the word as it is. Now let's look at question number 6. What is this about? The gradient function is given, the point is given, equation of curve, that's integration, and then the transformation, which I left it blank, not because it's too difficult, because I want to solve it right in front of you. So now the very first thing, that's a perfect combination, a beautiful combination. That combination is that of integration and transformation of function. Now the first part, that is for 4 marks. It says a curve passes through this point and is such that dy by dx is this. Again, take this up, and then once you have written it up, we apply the chain rule of integration. Now remember, what is the chain rule of integration? Again, I need to create some space over here. Okay. And let me write the chain rule of integration. Integral ax plus b raised to power of n dx. Increase the power by 1. Divide by the new power. Divide by the derivative of x or coefficient of x. Derivative of bracket or coefficient of x plus a constant of integration c. Now, I hope you know that. And of course, the examiner is not going to ask you this thing, that n could be any power, n cannot equal to -1. For that, you have to study P3. And the next thing is this ax plus b has to be a linear expression. This is a must. Very, very important. If it's not linear, you cannot solve it. So what we do is that we integrate, increase the power by 1, divide by the new power, divide by coefficient of x, simplify, write it out, plug in the values. The values nowadays that they give are such good values that the fractions cancel out. So now this is 5, this is 4/5. It easily cancels out. You find c, and once you find the value of c, you write this thing as it is. And that's the equation of the curve. Now for 3 marks, here comes the epic thing. I think the most technical question that people just want to avoid. That is the concept of transformation. Now let me read it out. Now it says the curve is transformed by a stretch in the x direction with scale factor half. That is the first thing. followed by a translation, and there are two translations. They can be done in any order. The first one is along the x-axis, and the second one, I think I've used purple color. The second one is along the y-axis. Now there are three things that needs to be done. First of all, let me write out each and everything. When we talk about this red thing, scale factor half. So now the rule is, this is stretch parallel to x-axis. So this, we write this thing as y is equals to f of ax, and scale factor is 1 over a. That means if 1 over 2 is written in this case, that means if the scale factor is 1 over 2, therefore a comes out to be 2. That means I'm working for f of 2x. That's the first thing. So now the first thing is f of 2x. That means 4 over 5 into 2x minus 3 minus 7. This is where the change is taking place. So let me just simplify this thing. This comes out to be 4 over 10x minus 3 minus 7. That is the first part. The next part, and it can be done in any order. The green and the purple can be done in any order, and it will be done together also. That is the concept of translation. So f of x minus h means the graph shifts h unit to the right. And if I write f of x plus k, the graph shifts k units up. So h units to the right and k units up. So let me just highlight this. This is the green color for this, and this is the purple color for this. Okay. So now I'll be using these two. So now after the first step is done, let me write over here 4. This is 10 something minus 3 minus 7. I'll do it step by step. Now it's moving how many units to the right? It's moving 2 units to the right. So therefore, let me write x minus 2. That is the thing that needs to be done. So now when we do this, what happens? This becomes 4 over 10x minus 20, 10x minus 20 minus 3 minus 7. That's correct. Now let me just write it properly. Okay. So now this thing is 10x minus 20 minus 3. That comes out to be 10x minus 23. So this comes out to be, let me shift this down a bit more. Okay, all the way up till here, and that will be the ending of it. So that is 4 over 10x minus 23 minus 7. Now the very last part, the easy part. That is 4 over 10x minus 23 minus 7. And let me add what? The purple one is 10. So we are moving 10 units to the right, up. So now this is 10 units up, and this will be changed because of that. So therefore, the final thing is 4 over 10x minus 23 plus 3. That is the final answer. So all this thing is done. Let me take you to the mark scheme so that you can see how much the examiner has explained. So it's right over here, increasing, decreasing, that's it. Carry out stretch by replacing x by 2x in the equation. Carry out translation by replacing x by minus 2 and y by y minus 10. So this is the final answer that you get. And all these details are there. I mean, if you are running short of time, no need to go over these details. Just double check the answer. Just understand the working the way that I've explained, and you are all set and fit to go. So that is the thing that I liked very much over here. And let me just put my logo over here, which is missing, and there goes like this. Okay, so now let's get started. The first term of an arithmetic expression progression is 1.5, and the sum of the first 10 terms is this. So now let me use a different color. This is the first part, looks like AP. Is there a GP over here? No, there is no GP. Okay, now it says the first term is 1.5, sum of first 10 terms is 127.5, n is 10. Use the term formula, that is Sn is n divided by 2, 2a plus n minus 1 bracket multiplying with d. I plugged in the value, I get d as 2.5. So that is this what you have got. So now the second part, this one was kind of slightly tricky. That is, find the sum of all the terms in the arithmetic progression whose values are between 25 and 100. Now, we don't know whether 25 is actually a term of this progression and 100 is a term of this progression, or there is a number after 25, there is a number before 100 that are terms of this progression. Now, how will I check? I'll say Tn is greater than 25. I'm looking for that number. I get n is equals to 10.4. Now, I'm not sure which one to use. I plugged in 10, I get 24. I plug in 11, I get 26.5. That means this is the closest term before 25. This is the closest term after 25. Since it's between 25 and 100, so I need to go ahead of 25. So this is the value that I'm using. Is this thing clear? Now over here, I think why is there an overlap over here? So let me just correct this thing, some issue over here. I'll just double check. So now get your calculators ready because I'll be using it and I don't have a calculator handy over here. So let's see how it goes. So now Tn is lesser than 100 and what I do is that I write 1.5 as n minus 1 into 2.5 lesser than 100. N comes out to be 40.4. So let me use n is equals to 40. Therefore T40 is equals to A, which is 1.5, and this is 39 into 2.5 and plus 1.5. And now this value over here, this comes out to be, I think I don't have this value. Let me go ahead and double check this value. This is 26.5. This is 99. And this is this thing. Okay, this value comes out to be, I think, 99. So let me just multiply it out. 39 into 2, that is 78. And 39 into 0.5. So 38 is 19, that is 19.5. So 78 and 2, that is 80. 80 plus 17, this is 97.5. 97.5 plus 1.5, that comes out to be 99. So I don't have a calculator handy, I have calculated it. So now what I have done is that this is the first term, this is the last term. How many terms are there in between? How many terms are there in between the two? So this is the first term, this is the last term, that is the common difference. This comes out to be 30. And then I use this formula, that is Sn is n divided by 2, a plus L, where L is the last term. And I use this and I get this answer. Do not round off. Do not round off. Why? Because this answer is not approximated. This is not an estimate. This is exact. Leave it as it is. Now let me just read out to you something at the beginning of the paper, which I think I just mixed up with this thing. That is right over here. It says give non-exact numerical answers. This is non-exact numerical answers correct to 3 SF or 1 DP for angles in degrees unless a different level of accuracy is specified in the question. So now they are asking about non-exact numerical answers. Exact, leave it as it is. Okay, so make sure that this is all good, all clear. Let me move all the way over there and where am I? Okay, now this thing is done. Question number 8. Now it says a circle with equations such and such meets the y-axis at point A and B. The tangents to the circle at A and B meet at point P. Perfect question. Perfect, simple question, but a lot of steps. First step, what is that? Let me write it. Step number 1, that is about completing square method. So that is completing square method. I'll focus on that. And then it says, let me first get started with this and then I'll make you follow through. So the x square goes with the x, the y square goes with the y, the constant is pushed to the other side. Everyone has their own way of explaining it. What I do is that first add, then subtract square of half the coefficient of x. First add, then subtract square of half the coefficient of y. You take this thing, you take the x from here, you take the 3 from here, you take the negative sign from here. This is x minus 3 whole square. This middle sign is positive, so this has a positive sign. This is y, this is 1, y plus 1 whole square. This thing over here, transfer to the other side, 15 plus 1 plus 9, that is 25. This is x minus 3 whole square, y plus 1 whole square, that is 25. What do you get out of this completing square method? You get this thing. That it's a circle, this is the center, and the radius is 5 units. That's the first thing. Now we will start with step number 2. So now what is step number 2? That is basically coordinate geometry. Circle is also part of coordinate geometry, but like coordinate geometry in the sense that it meets the y-axis at a and b, therefore x is 0. So now when x is 0, you get these values and you get two answers. One answer is A, other one is B, or vice versa, because they have not specified which one is specifically A, which one is specifically B. It doesn't make a difference. Now someone can raise this question, was it necessary to do the completing square at this stage? At this stage, it was not necessary. You could have made this 0, you could have made this 0, you could have solved this quadratic and you will get this answer. But for the next stage, for the next page, you'll be needing this. So this is needed. That is for sure. That is for this part. I have done it before. What's the big deal? So step 2 is coordinate geometry. Now step 3, what is that? That is now working towards this thing. That is coordinate geometry plus diagram is a must. That gives you a pretty good idea. So now let me just use the stroke eraser and let me highlight this. So step 3 is this thing. Now what I've done is that I have drawn just a circle without any x-axis, y-axis. And then these 2 points, that's the center, 3 and minus 1. So for this, I need the center. I need the completing square method. And there is a point A, 0, minus 5, that's down below. And this is 0 plus 3, that's up. And that's a realistic diagram that I've drawn. Now there is a tangent. The blue tangent is at point B. The green tangent is at point A. Now what's the strategy? That is find the gradient of AC, negative reciprocal, that's the gradient of the green line. Find the gradient of BC, negative reciprocal, that's the gradient of the blue line. Now first look at that. Gradient of AC is 4 over 3. Gradient of AC is 4 over 3. Gradient of BC is negative 4 over 3. Gradient of green line is this. Gradient of blue line is this. This is negative reciprocal. So this is negative reciprocal. And then we use the corresponding points. For green, use A. For blue, use B. That's the equation. That's the equation. These two lines meet at the point. This particular point is P. How would you solve it? You would solve it simultaneously. So the diagram is there. You're finding equation of the tangents. So this is for finding equation of tangents. And last but not the least, that is this thing. So let me write over here. Solve simultaneously. That is step number 4. So solving simultaneously is the final answer, and this is the answer that you get. Now later on, when you will be revising it, make sure that you have this idea that if two lines are tangents to one another, it's not necessary that this is 90. It could be, it could not be, maybe, maybe not. But it's very necessary that this slope over here, if this is theta, this slope over here is negative theta. If this has a positive slope, the same slope is there with a negative sign. This is positive 4 over 3. This is negative 4 over 3. Just double check. AC. Sorry, over here, that is AC and BC. That is giving this thing. Gradient of green line is negative 3/4. This is negative 3/4. This is positive 3/4. Why? Because the inclination is exactly the same. So that is one observation that you get out of this. Question number 9. It looks like gradient of tangent and all this thing, differentiation, and then volume. So let me highlight this thing over here. So that is differentiation and integration. It's about volume of revolution. So now the first part, it says the diagram shows the curve with this equation. Find the equation of tangent to the curve at the point where x is equals to 3. We have to give the answer in this particular format. This is why written without the square root with the index. Differentiation is done. Chain rule. Take the power down. Bracket remains as it is. And power reduces by 1. Don't forget to multiply derivative of the bracket. And this is dy by dx that you get right over here. So that is dy by dx. Let me choose a different color. That is right over here. We plug in x is equals to 3. Dy by dx is coming out to be 27 over 8. That's the gradient of the tangent. That is the point. This is the equation of the line after the simplification. The second part. The region shaded in the diagram is enclosed by the curve and the straight line x is 1, x is 3. So this is x is 1, this is x is 3, this is simple area under graph. Now, are they talking about area? Are they talking about volume? I think they are talking about volume. So this is volume around or about x-axis. What is the concept of volume? The concept of volume is this: volume between the limits a and b, there is a pi because something circular is formed. This is fx, the whole thing square dx. So that is how the volume formula is written. Now what have I done? The power was half. It's being squared. Half and 2 cancels out. Lower limit 1, upper limit 3. Don't forget the pi. After the squaring, do integrate also. Now chain rule is not applicable. Why? Because this is non-linear. So chain rule of integration is not applicable. So you integrate term by term. You plug in the upper limit, you plug in the lower limit, simplify as much as possible. It's a beautiful answer. Volume comes out to be 60 units cube or cubic units. So let me write over here. You can also write this thing as cubic units. Question number 10. Now geometric distribution comes with a bang. So first it was AP, now it's GP. Let's work it out. Now the geometric distribution A1, A2, A3, I prefer T1, T2, T3. The reason being A is the symbol that we use for the first term. So I don't want to mix up the symbols. So that's why I'm writing T1, T2, T3. It has a first term 2. It has a common ratio R. R is positive. It is given that 9 over 2 of T5. So let me write it like this. 9 over 2 of T5 plus 7 T3 equals to 8. And then we have to work it out. T is the nth term over here. So now T5 is AR4, T3 is AR square. Plug in the value in terms of R. And what do you get? You get a disguised quadratic equation. So that's a disguised quadratic equation. You make a substitution. You say let M equals to R square. Therefore, M square is R power 4. You do the middle term factorization. Middle term factorization is part of mathematical life. You get two values. M is negative 2, M is 4 over 9. But remember, what is M? M is R square. So when M is R square, you cannot take square root of a negative number. No solution. You take two answers. R is 2/3, R is negative 2/3. It says R is positive. Therefore, this answer is also rejected. This is mathematically rejected. This is rejected because of the condition in the question. That is the logic. Specify everything. Don't assume anything. Show all the steps as I have shown if you want to get your A. And an A star after the P3 exam. Now it says find the sum of the first 20 terms of this geometric progression. Give your answer to 4 significant figures. So this is A is 2. R is 2/3. You plug in the value, you use a calculator, you get this answer. That's pretty basic. Now this one was again a good question. That is, find the sum to infinity of the progression A2, A5, A8. What does it mean? we need the second term, we need the fifth term, we need the eighth term. Therefore, the new common ratio is fifth divided by second. So I wrote down few terms. This is first, this is second, this is third, this is fourth, this is fifth. Now my focus is on this thing. That is 2 and 2/3. That is my first term. That comes out to be 4/3. And then the next focus is on the fifth term. And this fifth divided by this thing, what do I get? This 2 and 2 will cancel. 2/3 power 4, 2/3. What will I left with? 2/3 raised to power of 3. So therefore this is 8/27. That is R. So we have A, we have R. Just apply the formula. Once you apply the formula, what do you get? Sum of this thing, infinity, is A/1 minus R. You apply, you simplify, you get this answer. Leave the answer in the fraction form. No need to be over smart. Now this thing looks like quadratics. Yes, the first part is quadratics, functions, mix and match. So yes, that's the last question. It took 3 pages. Now that's worth it. So this is quadratics and it's about functions. I think it's about composite function and all these things. Now the first part, it says the function f is defined by such and such. There is a constant, there is an x, there is an x square term. By completing the square, find the range of f. Now, in order for the completing square method, make sure coefficient of x square is 1. So what do? I take this negative common out. I take this negative common out, this negative remains, and then we open up the bracket. So now this is x square minus 6x minus 10. First two terms as it is, constant push to the end. First add, then subtract, square of half the coefficient of x. Take the x from here, take the 3 from here. Since 3 is negative, this is x minus 3 whole square. This is negative, positive 9, negative 10. And this, because of this negative, it remains as negative 9. This is negative 10, that is negative 19. Now when you multiply with this thing, keep in mind this minus multiplies over here, multiplies over here. So this is negative, this is positive. And this is the gold standard. That is the comparison thing. Do not compare with anything the examiner gives you. Compare it with this thing. This h and k, that's the coordinate of the turning point. A tells you the shape of the graph. If A is negative, it's an upside down graph. It's a graph of a maxima. That is the turning point. So that is the turning point, 3, 19. Upside down, the maximum value is 19. All the other values are below 19. It is inclusive. Fx is less than or equal to 19. That is the simple basic working for 3 marks. Every penny is worth it. You have to work it out. There are no shortcuts in life. The function g is defined by gx as 4x plus k. X is an element of real number. K is a constant. It is given that the graph of y is equals to g inverse fx meets the graph of y is equals to gx at a single point. Determine the coordinates of p. For 6 marks. That means there is a lot of working. It's not difficult. It's a lot of working. I need g inverse. So what is my step number 1? So step number 1, let me get a black marker. Step 1 is find expression for g inverse x. How do we get that? Let me draw a line over here so that it does not get mixed up. Okay. So now over here, what I've done is that gx is 4x plus k. Let y is equals to gx. G inverse y is equals to x. Y is equals to 4x plus k. Make x the subject, but x is what? G inverse y. We have a habit of writing in terms of x, so that's the expression. That is the first part. The second thing over here is that fx is given over here. So that is fx. And this is the second step. That's right over here. So let me go all the way down. It's all the way here. So now this is step number 2. So let me choose the purple thing. So let me write over here. This is STEP step number 2. What is that? That is finding composite function. Function of a function. Expression for that. Composite function expression. So what we do is that G inverse of fx, that means G inverse of x is x minus k over 4. G inverse of fx is fx minus k over 4. Now there were two choices. Either you plug in this thing, this one over here, or this one. So when you plug in that one, for simplification, you have to open it up. So just put in the original, the general form. You write this down, you simplify, and then you have to, this is the expression now, this is the last part now, and this is third. This is step number 3. Step number 3 is solve simultaneously. So you solve simultaneously, you have an expression, and that expression is right over here. That is x squared, that is 10x, that is 5k minus 10. That is the coefficient of x squared is 1. The coefficient of x is 10. The constant term is 5k minus 10. And then it meets at a single point. So if it meets at a single point, that is step number 4. That is the concept of discriminant. So apply the concept of discriminant. Since it is tangent, it meets at a single point, therefore b squared minus 4ac is 0. So this is b squared minus 4ac equals to 0. That is b squared minus 4 into 1 into 5k minus 10. It's a simple linear equation. You get k is equals to 7. What exactly were we looking for? We were looking for the coordinates of P. So we got the value of k is equals to 7. That brings us to step number 5. Yes, P1 is not so simple as people assume it to be. Some people, they think that they have done ADMATS and they can get away with P1. I mean, they're living in a fool's paradise. It's not that possible. It's not possible anymore. Maybe in the earlier days of 2001 and 2005, up till like that, but now it's not possible. So now what we do is that we plug in the value of k. Plug in value of k in this equation. This equation right over here, x squared plus 10x, 5k minus 10. So this is the pink marker, that is x squared plus 10x, 5k minus 10. You plug in this value, you get this thing, you get the value of x is equals to negative 5. Now this is gx right over here. You plug in that value over here. This is k equals to 7. And then you find the corresponding point, that is y is equals to negative 30. So that is y, that is p. So minus 5 minus 13, that is the answer. And just look at the working over here. So for 6 marks, I consumed 2 full pages almost. So that's how this question is done. So May, June 2024, variant 1-3. This question is done. I hope you liked the walkthrough solution. I think it took around like 35-40 minutes to complete it. See you in the next class and good luck with the exam.